So Reboot Q&A, there we go. We got a link.
Good morning. Boy, this is early. How is everybody doing? Let me just make sure people are on.
Let people know, please, to refresh the page
Refresh the page.
Can you let them know to refresh, to go to ultimatereboot.org?
Go to ultimatereboot.org. Operators are standing by. Go to ultimatereboot.org. I can't tell if anybody's watching. Oh, there. And hi, Nim. How are you? Yes, this is working. At least I can see that it's working on YouTube. So I'll just wait a moment for people to join. I know this is early for us, isn't it? Usually we get together around 11 a.m. This is 8 a.m. That way people in Europe can still be awake. Except people in Australia are not yet awake. Hi, everybody. Hi, Donna. Hi, Marie. Hi, Diane. All right. Do you want me to share my screen yet, Toby, or not yet?
No. You can. Now you're already live.
Okay.
So,
all right. So, hello. Why am I here? It's not my regular show. I'm here because tomorrow, which is Sunday, January 9th, we are starting our Ultimate Reboot program. And a lot of people wrote in and had lots of questions. So we thought rather than writing everybody individually, which would take a really, really long time, we invited them all to come to this live Q&A session where I can answer any of your questions about the program. So my husband, Charles, can as well, because he's the one that created it. What the program is a 30-day program that we modeled after a program that I taught in Los Angeles in my home for 10 years. I used to teach a program called the 30-Day Unprocessed Challenge, where individuals up to 24, and that was the most we could have because I lived in a small apartment that actually was pretty crowding in, would come to my home for 4 consecutive weeks for dinner, an exercise class taught by John Pierre, education, and we would have guest speakers each week. We would, the speakers that we always had were what I call the core 4, the people that are bringing you this program. Myself, John Pierre, who is a celebrity fitness and nutritional guru, 2 of my mentors, Dr. Ellen Goldhammer and Dr. Doug Lyle. Occasionally, Dr. McDougall would speak, but it was the 4 of us. And people had a lot of success on that program. If any of you are familiar with Shada Soleimani, who will be my guest on my show Tuesday, who's now kept off 120 pounds for over 10 years, that's where she started, was with that in-person program. And people would post their success on social media. People like, I want to do the program, but we really couldn't figure out a way to deliver it online until recently when Charles created this program using the videos that Dr. Lyle, Dr. Goldhammer, John Pierre, and I created over many years doing the live ultimate weight loss conferences. So it's a really good program, especially if you've fallen off track during the holidays. But even if you haven't fallen off track, a lot of people like to take it just to stay on track. And it's modules, 30 of them. The program actually starts on Monday, January 10th. We do a kickoff tomorrow where this is the first time we're actually teaching a course on the weekend. Usually we've done our courses at 4 p.m. Pacific time on either Monday or Tuesday. And a lot of times they go at least 2 hours, sometimes 3. They've been known to go up to 4, and people on the East Coast were getting tired. So we thought, hey, let's just try a weekend class. So we're going to do it at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And the live interactions are for 5 weeks. They start tomorrow. And then each week you get one of us. Well, you get me every week, unfortunately, and John Pierre most of the weeks. But then we have a whole jam session with Dr. Goldhammer where you can ask him questions and he's just amazing. He'll just talk for like 3 hours and just answer all your questions. And the same with Dr. Lyle, that will be on different weeks. And the modules are delivered each day to your inbox. They're not very long. I think the longest one is 20 minutes. And there's assignments and, you get a community. That's probably the best part, because I don't know if you know this, as much as I love YouTube, because that's where I do my show, I'm not really a fan of social media like Facebook and Instagram and all those others. And I mean, I do it because you kind of have to, but I don't like it. So we have a community and it's off of Facebook, and we have 2 of our best coaches. Some of you might be familiar with Zena and Pam that moderate the private groups. So it's very private, where I don't think Facebook is private. So that's what I've got to say about that. And my husband, Charles, is here because he created the program, the video and all the editing, and it's very, very well done. And I'll look now in the chat to see if there's any questions. I'm only seeing the restream chat. So if somebody's asking on that minute thing, I wouldn't know. So let's see. I'm wondering how long did it take you to lose your 50 pounds? That's a great question. Well, 47 of the pounds, it actually took me 27 months. So my program is not a get thin quick scheme. It's a stay thin and healthy forever scheme. It's not a scheme, but program. So yeah, it took me, it's funny because I actually started what I call my ultimate weight loss journey. It's been over 10 years for me now. I've been thin for 10 years after being obese for 50 years on January 2nd, 2011. So I hit my 10-year mark. So I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to be gaining the weight back. And Toby's telling me to refresh the page. I'm not sure what page that is. Yeah, so a lot of people will lose quicker. Now, one thing you have to understand is I was suffering from hypothyroidism at the time that it was happening, and I was not on medication at the time. So if I had maybe done something like that, it might have gone quicker. But I'm not looking for results fast. I'm looking for results that will last. And this was the only time I was able to keep it off. I had lost weight in my teens through a program called anorexia nervosa, which I don't recommend, which required lots of hospitalization and lots of medical care. And then I lost weight again the second time in my 30s, thanks to a horrible drug called fen-phen. But the third time was a charm. I lost it slowly and permanently, eating a lot of food. And I haven't changed what I've done. And that's one of the mistakes people make is they go on a diet. Usually they're fed up with their weight. And so they'll do a very restrictive weighing and measuring program or a keto program when they will lose water weight quickly. They're not really losing fat. And then they gain it back because their hunger hormones get dysregulated and they get hungry. You can't maintain a diet style that'll keep you hungry. And this method, which I call lose weight with a full plate, you get to eat twice as much food and take in half as many calories. And that's why it's so effective. How do we access the private group? I joined the Reboot. Charles, can you answer? I'm not going to be able to answer the tech questions because I'm the second least tech savvy person in the world after John Pierre. So Charles, maybe you can answer the tech question.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Once you get in the regular program, the Reboot, there'll be a little button that will say, go here to community. And there'll be a button at the top and there'll be one at the side. So it'll be easy enough to find when you get in, just a button that you need to click.
Great, thank you. I'm wondering how losing weight differs when you're in menopause. Well, it might be slower, but that doesn't mean that it's futile. I don't know when I was in menopause because I had an operation in my 40s called an ablation. So I never knew when I was in menopause. I mean, I guess I could have had hormone testing to see. I assume now at 62, I've passed it. But I never had any symptoms of menopause because of the way I ate. And you still can lose weight. So it's possible. You're not going to lose weight as fast as somebody 20 or 30, but you absolutely can because as Dr. McDougall's been saying for almost 50 years, it is the food. So you absolutely can lose weight with this method if you do it. Because I've had people in my 90s, you might have, if you listen to the 4-part series that we offered, hopefully you did, you heard about Lily. I mean, literally she was 90 when she came to me and she lived another 9 years and published a book and went on a book tour. And I think if people in their 90s can do it, I'm pretty sure you can too. I struggled with volume, says Eliza, during previous weight loss surgery. So when you have had your stomach made smaller, you can still use the principles of calorie density, but you might have to do things like, for example, things that are higher in volume, you might have to reduce. And so in other words, and I was just talking to Barbara Rolls yesterday. I don't know if you're familiar with her, Professor and Dr. Barbara Rolls, because we have the upcoming Truth About Weight Loss Summit, which we have this like perfectly planned. You do the Reboot and then to give you momentum, then you get the 9 free days of the summit. And we were talking about volume. And one of the things we were talking about, for example, was the studies she's done with volume. And to give you an example, raw vegetables are going to take up the most room than anything else. And so if you've had gastric bypass surgery, it's going to be pretty hard to eat a huge 1-pound raw salad like this. However, using a tool like a mezzalune, chopping that salad, you have this now coming to this. So that makes it a lot easier. That's an example. Cooking your vegetables, you're going to reduce the volume. So things like that, pureeing your beans. So with having gastric bypass, you may have to eat more frequent meals because you can't eat large meals. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. So there are tricks that you have. There almost always is a few people in the group and in the program that have had it and asking them what they have done. I'll see if I can get a doctor to talk about that. Write myself a note. Garth is very, very busy, but you can do it. I just know you can because I've seen successful people do it. It's just that you're not going to be able to eat, 3 pounds at one meal, which I do. You're going to be able to eat 3 pounds or however many pounds more frequently. And you might have to focus more on the higher calorie density. And when I mean by higher calorie density, I don't mean like nuts and seeds. I mean more like, the legumes, for example, the beans, which are a little bit higher in calorie density so that you're getting enough calories, not meaning to avoid the other things. And in a case like that, things that like, even having, pureed vegetables, things like that. But yes, you can do it, but not the same way that we do it because you would be really, really full. All right. Do you have access to the information after the 30 days? Lou says, yes, you own the program for life. So you can go through it anytime. What you don't have for life is access to future courses when we rerun them, because the live sessions, we do have to pay all my colleagues. So therefore, if you have the sessions, those will be the same, but the group will be different every time. And the live Q&As, which will be a minimum of 10 hours. I'll tell you, we went 3.5 hours once last time. It just depends on how many people in the group, how many questions, but we don't leave any question unanswered. So that's another reason we thought we should start at 2 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. So, because we get pretty tired by 6 or 7. And if I miss your question, just keep asking. I live in Europe, Wendy says. How easy will it be to, as far as to be attending in Europe, that should be easy. I know we've had people in England for sure be in this program, in Spain and Europe. I'm terrible with geography. Please forgive me. I skipped 4th grade. So it's just a matter, if you could log on here, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to log on to the program because it's done through Zoom. And as far as the ingredients, I don't know what's sold in Europe, but if I mention something like Benson's Table Tasty, that is not a deal breaker for you to do the program. I mention products that I like, but that doesn't mean that you have to use them. And actually, I found a product, guys, I found the best salt-free seasoning. It's not a salt-free seasoning. It's a seasoning that tastes like salt. And for me, it's been a real game changer because I was working on a recipe where the salt-free seasoning blends, as much as I love them, just didn't taste good in them because salt-free seasonings are generally a blend of up to 21 different seasonings. And I don't know why it took me so long to use it because it was recommended to me a long time ago by Dr. Nikki Davis. It's called Sumac, S-U-M-A-C. You put it on stuff and it just tastes salty. So that's an example. So we use real food, Wendy's, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes. That's the food. So if you can get those, you'll be able to do the program. I can't guarantee you'll get every single kind that we have in the United States, but I don't see why you wouldn't have a wide variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. And that's that. All right. What are your views on intermittent fasting or alternate days fasting? Asked Paula. So my feeling is do one thing at a time. And I'm not saying there's not benefits in intermittent fasting. I think that's going to be a very individual thing. I've interviewed, I just figured out yesterday, over 1,000 doctors now between my summits and my shows. And not everybody is a fan of it. Lots of doctors are, and they'll give you all the research as to why it's beneficial. But I think this is going to be an individual thing. But I also feel that when you're coming into a program, do the program as designed, your best for 30 days. And then if you want to add layers on it, add that later, but don't come into it and then I'm going to do the program and do intermittent fasting. I don't know much about the every other day one, but the program will cause you to lose weight and it will also cause you to be healthy. There's benefits for intermittent fasting for different people for different reasons, but not for everyone. So who's that? For example, all the experts that I've interviewed in the space of food addiction, specifically anorexia and bulimia, say that anybody that has had eating disorders in their history, which is pretty much every woman I've worked with, shouldn't do intermittent fasting because it still is a form of restriction. The kind of intermittent fasting I like, which is natural intermittent fasting, at least for me, is just not eating until you're hungry. A lot of people wake up and eat out of habit. They're not, maybe because they have a job and they're worried, well, if I don't eat now, I won't, hunger's not an emergency, by the way, but a lot of people eat 7 o'clock. So they eat, and especially if they have a job where, well, I don't get a break till 11, so I better eat. No, that's, you can't do preventative eating. That's like, well, you know what? it's going to be cold tomorrow, so why don't I put on a coat now? No, you eat. If you ate when you're hungry, you would probably fall into your own natural intermittent fasting or intermittent feeding pattern. What I like about intermittent fasting is that it cuts the eating off at night. And to me, that is beneficial for people. Eating at night is not a very good thing for most people, especially people that are trying to lose weight and people that have any kind of GI dysregulation, whether it's reflux or IBS, because those migrating motor complex, those cleaning waves in our stomach don't get a chance to work if we're constantly eating all day. So my recommendation, rather than doing like a strict intermittent feeding, which you can do, a lot of times people do what's called 12-12, 10-14, 16-8, and basically that means this many hours eating, this many hours not, is to just stop eating a minimum of 3 hours before whatever your bedtime is. 4 is better, 5 is even better. But to me, that is the best thing you can do for health and for weight loss. The thing is, if you're hungry in the morning, you should eat. And because when you delay hunger, that's when people end up binging and overeating because they're not eating with true hunger. So if you fall into a natural intermittent fasting or feeding window like I do, I've never been hungry in the morning, even when I was obese. I mean, unless you count a Coke Slurpee, but that's not hunger, that's addiction. I just naturally don't get hungry till 11 or 12. And so I eat when I'm hungry. There's lots of research that shows that intermittent fasting is good for a variety of reasons. And I don't think it's something that you have to necessarily exclude, but I wouldn't jump into it and expect it to work if you don't change the food. And what we work on is getting the food right. Get the food right first, get into a rhythm with that. And then if you want to add that onto it, but again, I would recommend, if you have a history of bulimia, especially, and anorexia, don't do that, because it's just another diet and another form of restriction. And if I don't answer the questions in their entirety, if you want more information, just say more information. Okay. Dashan Lover, I like that name. I've been trying to stay compliant for 6 years now. Are there some individuals due to personality? Well, Dashan Lover, I hope you join the course and ask that question again to Dr. Lyle, because that's a great question for him. He will have a field day with it, because that's exactly the kind of things that he talks about. Yes. And generally, it doesn't mean that you'll be not able to do it at all. It may be that you're not able to do it to the degree of a skill that somebody with a different personality has. He recommends a wonderful book called Blueprint by Plomin that talks about personality and how personality is genetic and it's fixed. So when I say a less than ideal personality, I don't mean that your personality is not ideal. It means for this particular problem. There is a talk, and I don't know if it's on Dr. Lyle's website or Dr. McDougall's website, but this talk by Dr. Lyle is called The Perfect Personality. And that talk is about why it's easy for Dr. Goldhammer. Now, this does not mean that you won't be able to do it if you don't have the same personality as Dr. Goldhammer. What it means is that there's going to be some tips and tricks we're going to teach you where you have to set up things in your life, like your environment, that's going to make it easier for you to be compliant. So yes, are there personalities that do this more easily than others? There's different points of the personality that Dr. Lyle talks about: conscientiousness, agreeability, openness to experience, introversion, extroversion, and emotional stability. And intelligence is another point that if you have certain traits, it's going to be easier. Like, for instance, conscientiousness, it's going to be easier. And again, everything exists on a continuum. So it's not that like you're just not conscientious. It's just that maybe you're less conscientious than someone else. That's why setting up your environment so that you will succeed is going to be really important if you have a personality that doesn't support you. But Dr. Lyle can answer this question even better than I can, but I can assure you that everyone can have some success. Will everyone have the success of a Shada? Lose 120 pounds, keep it off for 10 years? Probably not. She was very driven. She was also, the other thing is in addition to having the personality traits, she was very motivated. Regardless of your personality, if you don't have the motivation to do it, we talk about this a lot, and we'll talk about this in the first session when we go. Oh, the other thing, what I want to say is if you took the program before, one of the things we didn't do because we didn't know how to do it then, but we've been practicing it a lot through the last program I taught, which was called the Master Class, is we do these breakout groups for part of the class where you get to meet your fellow students. And those are really, really beneficial, and people have gotten, accountability partners and things like that. One of the things we'll do tomorrow is the first thing is we've got to figure out your why, because if you don't have a reason to do it, you can have the perfect personality, but you have no reason to do this. And you heard that my why was when I was in a wheelchair and couldn't use the restroom by myself. So that's one of the things we're figuring out. So Dasha and Lover, yes, your personality can make it more difficult or easy, but it doesn't mean that you won't be able to do it. Is it okay if I drink caffeine-free coffee? Absolutely. And not actually, Renee, it's okay if you drink anything that you want. Like I always say, this is not a court-ordered program, although for some people it probably should be. Caffeine-free is much better than caffeinated. It still will have some caffeine, but yeah, again, sometimes changing everything it can be for some people, it's just easier to change everything. I remember one time, and I'm not making this up, this man came to the program to lose weight, but he also smoked cigarettes, drank alcohol, chewed chewing tobacco, chewed chewing gum, and he wanted to get rid of everything at once. And for him, it was like just easier to pull the Band-Aid and get rid of all the addictions at once. For some people, maybe not possible, but I think caffeine-free coffee is definitely better than caffeinated coffee. But that said, if somebody is drinking coffee, maybe that 30-day reboot is not the time that they want to give that up. But yes, absolutely. I don't know much about how much. I think it's something like 25% of the caffeine that's in coffee is in caffeine-free tea. The other thing is green tea, which actually has caffeine, has lots of benefits, and that might be a beverage that you might want to consider as well. Is there any substitute for mushrooms? Well, I don't like mushrooms either, Wendy. The only way I like mushrooms is the way that I prepared them last Wednesday on Weight Loss Wednesday, when they're actually in the air fryer. So yeah, just you don't have to have them. You don't have to. There is no one food that you have to have for your health. You have to have food and you have to have water. So if you don't like mushrooms, don't use them. I don't care for them either. And I try not to put them in too many of my recipes. I know they're in the black bean mushroom chili, but other than that, I'm in my lasagna, but I don't like mushrooms either. So join the club. I don't know. And they've got the, air fried, they're okay because they're dry. How does the ultimate reboot differ from the 21-day program offered last year? Well, in a lot of ways, because you have the expertise of working with John Pierre, who has worked with people with food addiction, weight loss, and fitness for over 30, maybe 40 years now. And you have Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer in the program. So they're in the modules teaching things. So they're like this, in my opinion, the secret weapons for weight loss and for managing food addiction. So with the 21-day program, it's a very good program, and we'll probably offer it again, maybe after the summit. It's not that there's anything wrong with the program with just me, but I've brought in the best resources that I know. And so you'll get to glean expertise from them and really what I call the truth about weight loss with Dr. Goldhammer and Dr. Lyle. So that's how it's different. Coffee, do I have a good substitute? Well, if you're talking for a substitute for the caffeine part of coffee, my substitute would be green tea. And See Me or Say Me makes a very reputable one. I think that information is on my website. And they also have a decaffeinated matcha. If you're talking about just for taste, I like their organic brown rice coffee. It literally has one ingredient, brown rice, and it tastes like coffee. Some people like something called Dandy Blend. A Dandy Blend tastes good, but it has barley in it. And even though they claim it's caffeine free, I reacted to it, but it does taste very good. So there's lots of them. There's Pero. There's many different ones if it's just for the flavor. If it's for the caffeine, then I would probably go to green tea. Christy says, I have some degree of IBS. Me too. That's why we did the GI Health Summit. Hopefully you got to see that this year, which results in severe, long lasting stomach aches. These are always triggered by unprocessed foods, such as kale. Okay. Well, so one of the things I would, and I can't eat beans at all, Christy. So just so you know, I haven't eaten legumes in 6 years now. So one of the things I would suggest, and the thing that's perfect is the Reboot program is 30 days too. You can do what's called an elimination diet while you're doing the Reboot program, and it requires keeping a food journal. There's actually an explanation of what an elimination diet is on Dr. McDougall's website if you want a thorough explanation, but you have to keep a very accurate food journal of the foods you eat, because if you're eating all these foods together, like let's just say, for example, because I eat salad every day and there's fruit and there's rice in my salad. So if you're eating a salad that has kale and apples and rice in it, you're not going to know what's going to trigger you. So you will have to probably test these foods by yourself. I mean, one at a time, and keep an accurate food journal of them. And then you can reintroduce them at other times to see. But the thing is one of the things with IBS is if your microbiome has not been healed to the degree that it can be, you might always react to these foods. And there's things you can do working with plant-based doctors that are specifically gastroenterologists. There's many of them now that work online, like Dr. Vanessa Mendez, for example. So usually it comes with having to heal the microbiome and also other reasons, because IBS is such a multifactorial disease. I mean, and even stress is a huge component for it. But eat the foods that don't trigger you. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when I have a flare, I literally just eat white rice. That's the only thing I can eat. And I'm fine. And I get enough calories. And actually, luckily, I like white rice. But you have to find the foods that work for you within the unprocessed realm. Do you cover maintenance and what to do to gain weight without going off the, well, we definitely cover maintaining weight loss. We really don't have to deal with weight gain very often in our programs, to be quite honest, Gail. And I'm sure that if you had a question on that, one of the gentlemen like Dr. Lyle or Dr. Goldhammer or John Pierre could answer that. The way to not reawaken cravings is to not eat the things that cause them in the first place. And so one of the things that John Pierre will talk about is how you really gain weight in the gym, not in the kitchen, by gaining muscle weight. That he'll talk a lot about the difference between doing it that way and in the kitchen. But if you have a food and it's a trigger food for you, or even a gateway food, and you eat it again, you probably will reawaken cravings. So if you want to gain weight eating the unprocessed weight, you're going to have to eat more food, a lot more potatoes, a lot more rice, beans, less vegetables. How much time does each stage will the reboot involve? Charles, if you're still here, you can answer that question. But I know that the modules don't take more than 20 minutes to watch, but how long it will take you to do the assignment, I don't know. Do you know, Charles?
Yes, the modules are about 20 minutes long. Some are a little shorter, some a little longer. And then you could spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes going over some of the questions that'll be asked and activities. So yeah, I wouldn't say probably 30 minutes or less.
Great. Let's see. You know what? Questions are coming in so many different places. So I will get to all of them. So please don't give up hope. All right. Oh, Toby's typing them in. That's why they all said, I'm wondering, like, isn't it funny that every question is coming from Better Life Summits? Thank you, Toby. I just figured that out. Is the ultimate reboot conducive for prediabetes and rheumatoid arthritis? I was told to avoid nightshade. Well, first of all, okay. Let me answer that one first. Yes, absolutely. That's the best time to do it, is before you actually have full-blown diabetes. And if there is a particular food or food group you have to avoid because you feel it's not working for you or your doctor told you, you absolutely can avoid those foods. But this is my program. It's not even my program. It's nature's program. It's Dr. Alan Goldhammer's diet that he's been serving at the True North Health Center for 40 years, is very much in line with my friends Robbie and Cyrus's Mastering Diabetes program. They call it red light, green light, yellow light foods. I call them left of the red line foods, but these are the same foods that will prevent and reverse diabetes, absolutely, because it's low in fat, like the Mastering Diabetes program. We don't use sugar, oil, or salt. I'm very computer illiterate. Me too. If you can, so whoever said they're computer illiterate, you were able to type that question, which leads me to believe that you got on this broadcast. That's all you got to be able to do. If you can click the button and click the link, you should be able to do this. But if not, we'll have a customer service email and we'll help you. I love Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce, but it has avocado. Well, Kim, I probably do. I would need to see all the ingredients, but I don't see why that couldn't be replicated because, for example, there's already an SOS-free barbecue sauce by Dylan Holmes. I have, I believe, 3 barbecue sauce recipes in my book and or YouTube channel. I don't know what that tastes like, but usually things can be replicated in a healthy manner. Like I say, if I don't want to taste it, but if you can maybe put all the ingredients down, I could help you with that. Do you need to go in all right away? Do you need an Instant Pot? You don't need an Instant Pot. I just find that if you're going to do some kind of batch cooking, it makes it a lot easier to have an Instant Pot. They have, I've seen the little one now. I've seen it at Walmart for $39 at the little one. It's called the 3-quart. So I think it's very helpful to have one, especially if you like to cook grains and beans from scratch, but it's not necessary. I mean, it's necessary to me, but yes, you can do it without it. Do you need to go all in right away? Depends. I mean, the more you're willing to do the program as designed, the more you're going to get the results that you seek, I think. So it also depends how susceptible you are to the effect of food addiction, refined food addiction, because it's funny. We had someone make a comment that, when they're doing, that's why I'm not a big fan of cheat days, because when you have a foot in both worlds, you're just kind of slipping both ways and you're ending up in the splits. And then you're never really happy with either way you eat. You're not happy eating off plan, and you're not happy eating on plan. And so sometimes it depends what going all the way means for you, because if it means not giving up certain foods, part of the problem with that, and again, this is why when we do the lives, we can be a lot more specific, and we can do the laser coaching with the person. And actually I can see right now we're on a system where I can't see you. I can only see what you're writing. When we do the program, we see each other. Those that wish to be seen, they can make their camera visible, and then I can, Jean-Pierre and I can work with that person. And so we would go more in depth into what that means for you, but like going all the way, because if going all the way means, well, I want to keep eating, oil at every meal, well, that's 4,000 calories a pound, and it's probably going to be very hard to lose weight. So that's where we need more specifics. And of course, it's going to depend on your personality. In general, I would say that any changes you make in the direction of optimum health is better than doing nothing. Big changes lead to big results, smaller changes, small results. But my concern is if you're not going all the way means keeping in the addictive substances, that could be a problem. I just found you. Cool. I've been here for a long time and ordered my book. Is it too soon for me to do the reboot? No, actually, this might be the best time to do it because you got my book, and that can be a backup for you. Because if we offer it again this year, we usually do this every January. It won't be till June or July. So I would do it now because this is the best time. The first of the year is when people are mostly highly motivated and really want to do that. How does food tracking fit into your program? The accountability seems to help. Yeah. So again, this is going to be an individual thing, how you track your food, and if you track your food. We do know that people that track their food tend to lose 50% more weight than people that don't. But I don't necessarily think you have to have one of these fancy apps. My favorite way to track your food is to write it down, because there's something magical that happens when you put pen to paper. It's called the reticulating activating system in the brain, which gives it greater importance than a computer thing. So I'm a big fan of keeping a food journal that way. What a lot of people do is get an app called SHYE, See How You Eat, and they do it with pictures. But I think it's absolutely fine to track your food, especially at the beginning when you're losing weight. I think that's fantastic. So you know what? I'm going to jump over to there's the chat's coming in 3 places, which is wonderful. But with the restream, it goes away really quickly, whereas with the YouTube, it doesn't. So I'm going to just jump over here and make sure I don't miss anything in the reboot, and then I'll go back to where I'm going. Because again, I'll stay here. I mean, I have to leave at 11 because I got Jonathan Balcom on, but I will answer every question. Do you have to be available for every session, says Diana? No. But that's when I don't want to say this is when the magic happens, but it's really great if you can be available at the sessions, because that's when you meet your fellow participants and interact with the doctors. I would definitely say, please try to be available at least session 2 and 4 with Dr. Goldhammer and Dr. Lyle. Those are really priceless sessions. It's the kind of stuff they do in the program is a little different than when you see them present. They really, not that they're not honest in their thing, but they're really great in those sessions. So I would say at least try to be available session 2 and 4. You don't want to miss Dr. Goldhammer and Dr. Lyle. Allison says, do we have scholarships? I don't know. Write us at hello@betterlifesummits.com and we'll answer your question there. First time you've seen me live. Wow. I'm live every day. Yeah. So Kimberly, I need that buffalo sauce. I need the list of ingredients and tell me where to buy it and I can maybe look. Is it okay to eat a second breakfast in the morning and in the evening as a snack too, says Sandy. Again, I'm not, when you say in the evening, do you mean in the evening as your dinner or after dinner? I'm not a big fan of eating after dinner, Sandy, for a lot of reasons, because those are the calories that are generally stored as fat. We're just really not meant to eat at night when the light goes out. And obviously, if you're a shift worker, it's going to be different. But for those of us that aren't, it's really best to stop eating 6, 7 o'clock and not eating into the evening. If you need to snack at night, you probably haven't eaten enough in the daytime, particularly enough starch. So, I mean, it's always okay to eat compliant food. It doesn't have to be breakfast, doesn't have to be breakfasty food. It can be dinner food, that kind of thing. But I just don't think snacking in general for a lot of people is a good idea. You want to learn to really just eat food at mealtime, whether that's, and again, you could be eating 6 meals a day or 4 or 2. I don't recommend 1, but I don't think eating at night is going to be a good idea. It really disrupts your sleep. And when you don't have good sleep, you don't have the motivation the next day to eat healthy and to exercise. So really try to learn kitchen closed after dinner. Okay, let's see. I love your program, says Allison. Thank you so much. Do fat cells ever disappear? Terry says, no, unfortunately. And I know this from interviewing Dr. Rosanna Alviera. They get smaller, but they never go away. I mean, obviously, if you've had a surgical procedure like liposuction, you can remove them, but they don't disappear. They shrink, but they can also expand. So no, they don't. And Janine says, yes, I can't really say people's names without permission. Like I have permission to use Shada's names, but I've had at least 10 people now in the program that have had gastric bypass or sleeve that have been able to do the program. And hopefully at least one of them will be in the group. Lisa says it's a fabulous supportive program. I highly recommend it. Thank you. Denise has the same conditions as me. Karen lost, wow, 90 pounds. I know Karen in 18 months. Amazing. She was 63 when she started. So that's pretty incredible. Peace Loving, what a nice name, says signed up for the reboot. How do I join the private group? Yeah, we told you that. Okay. Judy says, do you ever have an urge to cheat, to treat yourself to something? I guess I have urges like regular people, but I don't do it. That's the difference. And the reason is because what I remind myself is how miserable I felt when I was, 180 pounds and how bad my knee felt and how bad I felt about myself. So yeah, I don't have the urge like on a daily basis. Obviously I wouldn't be able to keep this up for 10 years, but if I'm in a situation like I go to Costco and instead of walking this way, I accidentally walked by the bakery and I smell it, I'm like, oh, that was really, remember that was a really good cake, that kind of thing. So, but see, again, look at your language, Judy. I don't think eating non-compliant food is a treat anymore. I think it's a punishment because I know what it's doing to my body, but more than that, it's dysregulating my calm, stable brain. And so I had one relapse in 10 years and I know how bad I felt emotionally and physically. So to me, having that calm, stable brain that comes from eating this way and also having, I can't believe it. Like I still consider myself the nouveau thin because I was fat for almost 52 years and I was obese. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, well, you weren't that fat. Well, how fat do I have to be to hate myself? You know what I mean? I had 60 more pounds than I have now. I mean, it was fat, let's face it. I mean, the problem now is that only 1 out of every 4 persons are normal weight. And we've developed a worldview now that being overweight is normal. So people that are, and by the way, a lot of people say you're too thin. I don't have a lot of upper body mass or strength, but my BMI is 20, guys. That is not too thin. To be underweight, you have to be, I believe it's 17 or 18. If you saw me standing up, you'd see I have very thick thighs, very thick calf muscles. I just happen to have a very slender upper body because I don't do any exercise, which is another story. But the point is now to be able to just go buy, clothes like this and just, I mean, that's the treat. So I don't look at food as a treat. I look at restaurants as a punishment when I have to go once a year. It's like, this is terrible. So, cheat days, you're really just cheating yourself. But yeah, I do, once in a while, like I'll get the weirdest, like yen for I'm like, God, I wish I had some black licorice. I don't know why. That was something I used to love. And by the way, if I was going to cheat, which I'm not, it'd probably be like a good thing to cheat on because there's no fat in licorice. It's not very good for your teeth. But sure, I mean, I get, and that's one of the reasons I don't watch TV. We don't even have TV anymore. I mean, we have like Netflix and Amazon, but like we don't actually we have a television, but we don't have TV. Like I can't get any channels. The problem with TV is commercials. And, I don't subscribe to any blogs. I mean, I do subscribe to Nutmeg Notebook. She's my friend, but for the most part, I don't want to look at those images or watch the British baking show. So I protect my environment so that I have limited urges. But so I do get I don't want to say I get cravings, but every now and then I'll get a yen for something. That's why I don't like going to restaurants, because I have to see the bakery case. And so, yeah, but this is the treat, having the thin, slender body and the stable brain chemistry you've always dreamed of. That's the treat. Omitted fat from my diet. So here's the thing. I didn't omit fat from my diet because you cannot be on a fat-free diet unless probably you're just having fruit, I would imagine. But even fruit has traces of fat. I omitted overt fats from my diet, meaning, well, oil for sure. I had already omitted that, and nuts, seeds, and avocado, and high-fat foods like soy, but soy I'm allergic to. That's really the main reason I'm playing around with adding a little bit of seeds. Now that it's been 10 years, I'll be having an appointment with Dr. Goldhammer and Lyle soon about that. And I don't think it's going to affect my weight. I'm having small amounts of seeds. Well, I was never afraid to eat seeds, by the way. I mean, chia seeds are in my recipes. For example, the lemon poppy seed dressing. Don't care for flax seeds. I just don't like them. So I'm not going to have them, but I'm experimenting now using a little bit of tahini. And if you watch my show on Wednesday, Weight Loss Wednesday, you'll see a recipe. So I am trying to eat a little bit of fat, not because I think I need it for my brain. It's because it's darn tasty. That's the thing. But, you know, I really have to watch that because it can be a real trigger for me, but I'm not going back to nuts. I can promise you that. Never, ever, ever. Those are really a trigger. Down 36 pounds, rebooting after the holiday. Congratulations. Ooh, somebody's from Holland. I'd like to go there. Sumac is still used in Middle Eastern cooking. I don't know what took me so long, Sherry. It's delicious. It is delicious. Yes, you can lose weight having hypothyroidism. I did. What are your views on fruitarian? Well, if it works for you, that's great. I have spent weeks interviewing some of my colleagues in the raw food space. I feel that for people that are food addicts, I feel that it might be problematic because they're not going to have the starch that they need for satiety. And it's very hard not to get enough calories from fruit, which is 300 calories a pound. You have to eat a lot more food. I prefer if they're going to be raw, rather than be fruitarian, be low fat raw vegan, like Dr. Doug Graham, the 80-10-10, where they're eating lots and lots of dark leafy greens. Dr. Furman has said, and this is what he said, that people generally that he's seen that have been long-term fruitarians have dental and mental problems. So you might want to look at some of the things he's written about that. But I feel for me and for the people I've worked with, especially that have food addiction, that just having just sugar, not that fruit is sugar, but it's sweet, that they do better more with savory type foods, and to have fruit, not to exclude it as a sweet treat, but that the starch is really going to be the key to long-term success and satiety. Lisa says, listening to my book on Unprocessed audiobook, it really helps. That's The Secret to Ultimate Weight Loss. I actually am doing an audiobook right now for Unprocessed, which is coming out in its 10th anniversary edition this year, I think on my birthday. Okay. Who said, let food be thy medicine, Derek? I believe it was Hippocrates. Plant-based. Yes, we only eat plant-based. Yes, Derek, I didn't change a lot since writing Unprocessed, but I changed enough that it's being published by a publisher in a couple of months as a 10th anniversary edition with color photos and updated recipes. I changed that you shouldn't eat dessert first. I changed that for some people, eating nuts and seeds can be problematic, and if they have food addiction and if they struggle with weight loss. So we gave updated versions of all the recipes that include nuts and seeds and avocado to low-fat versions. So yes, I did change that. Thank you. I look slim now, so it appears that I know what I'm doing. Yes, you guys have to understand, we get this question a lot because we have a membership group called Feel Fabulous Over 40, where we do a weekly live interaction with Dr. Lyle, Dr. Sabatino, other guests, and that's $147 for a whole year, which is basically it's $12 a month, and you can try it for $1 for 2 weeks if you like to see. But we have to charge for the courses because there's expense with the courses. There's the infrastructure. Having a Zoom that holds that many people is quite costly because we want to be able to see each other. Plus, we have to pay the speakers. So unfortunately, I appreciate that you're a member, but no, we can't just give you the course because you're a member, because there's too many moving parts that go into creating the course. It's sort of like, if you go to college, I I mean, we had to pay for every course we took. We didn't say like, you know what, Professor Jones, I'm in your, Econ 1 class. So can I have this one for free? It unfortunately doesn't work that way. It's kind of like college. I don't know what MCT is, but we're not fans of oil in this community that I'm in and the plant-based world for health or for weight loss, especially for people that have heart disease. Okay, I am going to now leave Restream for a while and go back here. And there's a third place that there's questions. So I'm thinking that maybe Toby's putting them in for that. Okay. I might have to put my glasses on. Let's see if it goes with my outfit. Yeah, actually it does. I can easily gain weight on whole food, plant-based, SOS free. I usually count calories, but when I easily eat 3,000 to 3,500, 50 plates and fruit, how do you lose weight without food restriction? Well, what you do is you sequence your meals. So in other words, instead of doing a 50-50 plate, which is great, by the way, and I'm assuming when you do a 50-50 plate, you're eating it together, you eat in order of increasing caloric density. So you do what Dr. Goldhammer talks about and what he teaches at True North and the way he has the buffet set up is instead of having a 50-50 plate and fruit for dessert, you start each meal with a large raw salad, a 1 pound salad, which is 100 calories. And then you eat a pound of your cooked vegetables like steamed greens, which is about 200 calories. So now you've eaten 300 calories, but you've eaten 2 pounds of food, which should start to fill you up. And then you eat your more calorically dense starches with more vegetables. And so the problem is if you're really somebody that can overeat that way, wait to eat the starch until you've really filled up on that. That's what I would say. So you're not restricting your food, but you're just sequencing your meals. And you do that at every meal. There's nothing wrong with mushrooms. Mushrooms are healthy. I just can't stand the texture unless they're air fried. My kids love salad with oil and vinegar. Yeah, well, Paula, there's so many dressings now out there that are oil-free. Forks Over Knives sells them. Well Your World sells them. I've seen some in the store by Patricia Bragg. There's 40 flavors of California balsamic vinegar. The 7-herb Italian, which is the bestseller, which by the way was my idea because I was buying it from I was buying another from another company. I said, Thomas, you got to have something for my husband that tastes like Italian dressing. That is absolutely unbelievable. And there's also so many other dressings you can make that are, like the ranch dressing that's coming out on my YouTube channel that you can make ranch dressings. There's so many dressings you can make without oil, lemon poppy seed. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, even if your kids aren't overweight, I really wouldn't be feeding them oil, because there's so many other things you can do on salad, salsa, guacamole, hummus. But nowadays, there are so many oil-free dressings out there. There are websites. I know Drina Burton has a wonderful oil-free substitute method for her. Kathy Fisher on her blog, Straight Up Food, does a tutorial on how to make oil-free vinaigrettes. So yeah, it's never been easier. Haley says, I've tried so many times to do a weight loss program and my hubby has been very supportive in this, but we struggle if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. He is not really willing to put items under lock and key. How would you handle that? Well, I don't know your husband. I would talk to him. Is he disagreeable? Is he agreeable? Because in general, the clean environment or a cleaner environment can be negotiated. And by that, sometimes you both have to have a session with Dr. Lyle or you to figure out, based on your husband's personality, what the best way is. I mean, the first thing I would explain to him, and I don't know if he's watching right now, is that you need support. If you were an alcoholic, would he insist on having alcohol in the house, or would he drink his alcohol outside the house or at least lock it up? Well, this is no different. So the first thing I would do is enlist his support and just say, look, I just really need your help with this. Could we try this just for a month? Could we do this for a month and just see if this makes a difference? Because this is really hard for me. I believe that a truly loving family member will support someone in recovery. If they won't, then the problem isn't the program. The problem is the relationship. And that has to be dealt with however you would deal with a problem in a relationship. That's why oftentimes people do have a private session with Dr. Lyle, or if you join the program, you can ask Dr. Lyle straight up how he would handle that. It's just the way it is. You're genetically hardwired to always prefer the most concentrated source of calories in the environment. And if it's there and not locked up, eventually you're going to get into it. I don't know any way around that. It's just the way it is. So You can ask him to please eat the foods outside the house, keep them in separate shelves, maybe if he won't lock it up, put his food in dark containers or bags so that you're not seeing it. Or maybe you just need to get separate refrigerator or cupboards for you. But, I'm not going to ever tell somebody that they're going to fail if they're in an unclean environment. I'm just going to tell them that I've never seen somebody in a clean environment not succeed, and that it's just so much easier when it's not constantly banging on your brain, because it doesn't take any willpower to not eat something that isn't there. So I would do my best to work on having a clean environment, at least for the duration of the program. And you can't convince somebody to do something that they're not going to do. Usually when somebody does not support the family member, it's either because they're often very highly disagreeable or they're food addict themselves. So they don't want to have this food not in the house. But I do believe it can be negotiated with the tools. Is it okay to have some popcorn? Dr. Goldhammer says, yeah, if you want to gain weight, you have to realize that popcorn is 1,800 calories a pound. It's the same caloric density as sugar. So it may be low fat, but the problem is it's also a hand to mouth food, which is not good for people that have excess weight or any kind of eating issues. John Pierre always tells his clients, if they're going to eat popcorn, eat it with chopsticks. I mean, it's, I never loved the word okay, because I don't know what that means. Okay for what? Okay for weight loss, okay for health, okay for recovering from food addiction. It's not an ideal food for weight loss. It's better to just eat the corn, which is 500 calories a pound. Popcorn has all the water removed. And anytime you remove the water from a food, you're increasing caloric density, which increases your propensity to overeat. So it is not really a weight loss food, in my opinion. Green smoothies, John Pierre can really speak to protein powders the week that he is going to be, well, he'll be there every week, but we'll have our kickoff session tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time, because he's trained elite athletes, and he really knows which protein powders are the best if you're going to use them. They're definitely not necessary. The thing about smoothies, though, depending on how much weight you want to lose, is liquid calories just aren't favorable for weight loss. They don't give you the same satiety signals as eating the ingredients. And so I learned this at True North because I was obese when I went there over 10 years ago, and I was having a green smoothie every day for breakfast. And what Dr. Lyle told me to do was to take all the ingredients in my green smoothie, which was, was a banana, it was flaxseed, it was blueberries, some almond milk, was a half a pound of kale. And Dr. Lyle said, when you get home, put everything in the blender and then pour it in a bowl and try to eat it. And guess what? I couldn't, because the blender artificially reduces the volume and basically it doesn't make it more calorically dense. It's still the same calories, but it's much easier to consume. And it's also now higher glycemic because the fruit has been blended. And so they're not ideal for weight loss. They're not a horrible thing, but they're not ideal for weight loss, in my opinion. Any liquid calories. Can you use stevia? I don't recommend it. Stevia, well, I don't know if you saw the GI Health Summit that we recently did in November, but I interviewed like 40 gastroenterologists, and they all gave all the artificial sweeteners. I know stevia isn't technically artificial, but it is really, if you're using the powder or liquid. Unless you're using the green leaf, it is an artificial sweetener because you can't make it in your kitchen. It's highly processed, and it's more addictive than sugar in a lot of ways. And I'll explain that in a minute. But first, I'm going to explain it from a health standpoint. All the gastroenterologists, whether they were plant-based or not, said that as bad as sugar is for our health and our microbiome, the stevia, erythritol, xylitol, mannitol, aspartame, all the zero or low calorie sweeteners are actually worse because our bodies have not evolved with them. They can't recognize them. So they're a nightmare for our gut. But also when you use these low calorie sweeteners or zero calorie sweeteners, stevia, erythritol, aspartame, what happens is they have a very high sweet taste, sweeter than even sugar. And when our tongue tastes sweet, our brain gets so excited thinking it's going to get calories, but the calories never come. And so they actually cause people to overeat more. So the studies have been done on these sweeteners so that people that use them are generally heavier and gain more weight and don't lose weight. So I don't recommend them at all. They're very addictive. Yeah, the treat is to buy smaller cloves. That's really the best part, I think. Are nuts and seeds allowed on this program? Yes, if you can keep them within the appropriate percentage, which would be not more than an ounce a day. And that's a very small handful. We recommend, if you're somebody though that struggles with nuts, to do seeds. You really don't have to eat nuts, but if you're worried about the omega-3 fatty acids, which is why people that eat nuts tend to eat them, and that would be the walnut. Really just having 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed or chia seeds per day while you're on the 30-day reboot would be absolutely sufficient. Actually, probably even a teaspoon would be enough. I haven't used these products in 10 years, and I get my omega-3 fatty acid profile done every year at my annual physical, and mine are much higher than people eating nuts and seeds because of the fact that I eat so many greens. Yes, there absolutely will be replays, Wendy, of every meal. I don't think, B, you have to modify these recipes if you have gallbladder issues, because most people with gallbladder issues, it's the fat that's the problem. And so because this is a low-fat diet, you probably would not have to modify any recipes. Would it be better to join this or feel fabulous? I think that again, better. It's like, okay, better for what? I don't know. I would recommend you join this program. And then if you have success, which I believe you will, you can then try Feel Fabulous for $1. And if you like it, then you can join. There's no really teaching in Feel Fabulous. It's not, I mean, it's not that you don't learn things. Feel Fabulous isn't a program. It's a membership group, and there is support, but there's no, we don't teach the way we do in this program. Okay. And it's not focused on that. It's more of a support group. Okay. Mary, let's see, says, I'm struggling with major weight gain. I've gained nearly 40 pounds. I'm sorry. I had lost a lot of weight. I wasn't 100% plant-based, 70%. And I had read about this way of eating. I'm so concerned and frustrated. Well, I don't know what you see. Again, Mary, if you're in the program, well, like tomorrow in the live, you're going to come either, if you don't want to unmute your camera, it's not, you can't unmute your camera. If you don't want to make us see, at least you can unmute your microphone, because I need a lot more information. But in general, what you're doing wrong is you're eating foods of a higher caloric density than your body was designed for. And that's why we get into caloric density a lot in this program, because our species evolved at a caloric density of about 800 calories per pound. Yes, our ancestors ate some meat and some honey, but people now are eating foods of a really high caloric density. Animal products are much higher in caloric density than plants, for example. If you're eating oil at 4,000 calories a pound, the answer could be right there, or nut butters or bread, sugar. So I would need a lot more information about what you're eating to be able to answer the question of what you're doing wrong. But in general, what people are doing wrong is they're eating foods of too high of a caloric density. And I did see a third place, that minute chat. Where did that go? I saw some questions there, but I got all these screens open. So please give me a moment to find the minute chat. Unless, Toby, if you are putting the questions in from the minute chat, maybe you can tell me that.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, great. So then I don't have to worry about that. Perfect. Then I can just look at the reboot from time to time. Thank you. Ah, perfect. So then I'll go back to the reboot. Can I use a sub for bananas? So Lauren, I don't know. It depends on the recipe. So, yes, in general, the answer is both yes and no. And what I mean by that is when I'm using bananas in a recipe, it's really only to lower the caloric density of it. So bananas are about 400 calories a pound, whereas dates are 1,300 calories a pound. So I'm using bananas solely as a sweetener. So yes, you can use a different sweetener. I use bananas because of their neutrality in baked goods, but if you can't eat them, don't use them. But in general, the only time you'll see me use a banana would be in a dessert, which, to be honest, I don't really recommend desserts for people trying to lose weight other than fruit. But people keep pressuring me into making desserts. So I make desserts the cleanest I can with the lowest caloric density I can. Okay, we answered that one on hypothyroidism. Brenda says I need to get the food right. Well, then join the program, because that's one thing we kind of specialize in. Karen stops eating by 6:30 and doesn't eat till noon. It just happens. That's good. So she's fallen into a natural rhythm. That's very good to do that. Is it necessary to take a probiotic? No. And as a matter of fact, none of the doctors in the GI Health Summit even recommended them. So the answer is no. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Diana said the brown rice is her new coffee and she likes that. I found that the See Me was the most coffee-like of all the substitutes. Okay. Oh yeah, and Diana, Lauren's telling you to try applesauce. That's a great suggestion, because that's also like for the moisture in the baked goods. It's not quite as sweet, but I think that's a great suggestion. Karen's hopeful and excited. Yeah, we're excited to have you. All right. I'm looking. Yeah. So, yeah, we answered the question about intermittent fasting. How much? No, I don't know much about sarcoidosis, but if that is a question you have, week 2, Dr. Goldhammer will be answering all the medical questions if you join the program. And I'm sure he knows a lot about it because he's been treating patients for over 40 years. And I'm sure some of his patients have had that. So Kama says, I lost 40 pounds since May, but I'm a plateau since September. How do I restart losing weight? So this is one of the things that we'll talk about, and Dr. Lyle and Goldhammer also talk about it. Dr. Lyle talks about how a plateau is really a behavioral equilibrium. So one of the first things we're going to do is look at your food, and we can do that. You can post that in the group, in the food journal. And it's also something you can type, when we do the live tomorrow, you can read it to me or put it in the chat if that's easier. But one of the suggestions is obviously the sequencing of the meal. So eat it, whatever you're eating now, eat it in order of increasing caloric density. Starting every meal, including breakfast, with vegetables is going to be the best way. What was that thing that Dr. Goldhammer said? Show me a person who's overweight and I'll show you a person who's unwilling to eat enough raw salad and steamed vegetables. So generally, if you're at a plateau, your caloric density of your diet is higher than what you need to lose weight. And again, you remember 80% of weight is heritable. So everybody is different in terms of how much they can eat and lose weight. So you're probably eating not enough vegetables. So that's the first thing I would look at, is making sure that you have them in every meal, at least half your plate. And I really recommend starting with them, because when you eat them with the starch, they're so delicious. You're always going to want the starch, but you're not going to want the vegetables once you have the starch. So that's what I recommend, is definitely increasing the vegetables. And then I don't know if you eat out, but that's one thing to look at. You're going to get oil and salt when you eat out, or eating other people's food, that kind of thing. I need to know a little bit more about what you're eating. And if you want, you can type it in the chat, but generally it's not enough vegetables. It's not that it's too much starch, it's not enough vegetables. And also, are you exercising at all? And it's not about exercise being beneficial for weight loss, because it's really not. It's beneficial for weight maintenance, but it does do something to help you have the ability to stick to a healthy eating plan, and it raises your self-esteem. John and Judy say, those who have joined a suggested food menu for Sunday and Monday. I don't know what you like to eat, but I would say keep it simple. If you already know me and know my recipes, make the one you like the best. So for me, that'll be like, I love the cauliflower bisque. We just had that for dinner last night. It makes so much that we get, at least what we do is like, we freeze it. Like, we make the big batch, and after it cools, we freeze it in freezer safe containers. So there's 2 in there now. So we're going to have it 2 more times, plus the 2 times that we had it before it was frozen. So that's one thing. If you like any of the burgers that I make, the beanless burgers or the bean burgers, those would be great. Or, hey, keep it simple. One of our favorite meals is you just take a potato or a sweet potato, cook it in your preferred method, whether that's microwave, steamed, I like roasted, or baked, and then stuff it with whatever you like. And so Charles likes beans and corn on his. I'll put, maybe I'll saute some zucchini and cabbage and put that in mine, but stuffed potatoes, that would be my, and then batch cook lots and lots of things. My favorite meal is sweet potatoes and broccoli. Have it every day for lunch. So whatever you like. Flax seeds, chia seeds, okay. They're not only okay, they're recommended. A tablespoon ground a day would be perfect. Ava says, thank you for everything I do. Motivating. I appreciate it. Yeah. Karen says it takes 40 olives to make a tablespoon of olive oil. I heard 44, but that's a lot. Most people wouldn't eat 40 olives. Okay. Is the program for new vegans, or is it? Oh, no, Sarah, not everybody that comes to the program is even vegan. So it can be, yes, it's for everybody that's either reached a plateau, that wants support, wants help with maintenance, or just wants to kickstart their weight loss. I just happen to be vegan, and the program's whole food plant-based, but believe it or not everybody that comes to it is, and not necessarily will stay, but they still maybe glean information that will help them in their journey to health and an ideal body weight. Let's see. Angie says, my BMI is considered in a good, healthy range. I don't count macros at all. And it's so funny, because I just interviewed Dr. Rolls, who really talked a lot about that, why it's not necessary. And getting a little more shredded. Angie, this is not my area of expertise, but we have John Pierre that can help you with that. He actually, there's a guy named Sean Munson who produced a movie called Earthlings, and he had him gain 40 pounds, but of muscle. So that is something JP can help you with, absolutely. But that's not my area of expertise. That's why I don't do this program alone. The urban spice that tastes like salt is sumac. It actually has a lemony taste, but what it does is okay, I should clarify, it doesn't taste exactly like salt, but what it does is it gives you that missing of salt, because our taste buds for sour sit next to our taste buds for salt. And so when you put things like lemon on greens are naturally salty, you feel like it's salty, but I'll tell you, sumac is really good. What time do we eat the last meal, says Margarita? In my opinion, a minimum of 3 hours before you lay down. If you have GI problems, make it 4 or 5. Okay. Yeah, there's no counting in this. That's why I'm terrible at math, so we don't count anything except our blessings that we have Dr. Lyle and Goldhammer and JP working with us. Okay. Is Swiss water, I'm not an expert on coffee, to be honest, caffeine free or regular. We can ask Dr. Goldhammer about this. This is something that he knows quite a bit about. Okay. If you want to find out about whether or not coffee is okay, there's Linda Carney, who's a doctor who we interviewed for one of the summits, has a whole blog on caffeine and what the problem is, because decaffeinated coffee still has that. But again, it's not necessarily the first thing that I would take away from somebody that's struggling with weight or food addiction. Is it optimal? I don't know. I mean, I think one of the things I like to teach people is freedom from all addictions. And my feeling is, if you have to have something every day, there's so much. That's why I wore this hat, 4th of July, freedom. The freedom from addiction feels so much better after you're over the addiction than the addiction felt. And it's just, I find that when you have to have something every day, it's just not an optimal way to live, because you're still living in a state of addiction. And most people aren't willing to give up all their addictions. And I'd like to die without any if I can. So my favorite tea is Seimee, Seimee. You can find information on my website. Actually, I like herbal tea. So I'm just drinking peppermint tea right now that I made. I heated up the water. I put in just organic peppermint tea bags. The only ingredient was peppermint, and that's what I'm drinking. So I do like herbal teas very much. No cheat days for me. That's right. You're cheating yourself. Yeah, licorice and fennel is delicious. It tastes like licorice tea. And yeah, TV is the worst, Georgia says. I think social media is the worst and TV is the second worst. All right. Yeah, best way to introduce new food is one at a time. Absolutely. Listen, are you ever allowed to have cheat meals? You're allowed to do whatever you want. However, it really depends what your goals are and how serious you are of cheating them. I find that cheat meals for most people, and again, you could be an outlier. I'm sure that I actually knew one girl in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program that got down to her ideal weight, and once a month had a cheat meal. She didn't have like a cheat day, by the way, where she just said, I'm going to eat whatever I want the whole weekend. She was Italian, and there was this one thing she liked. I think it was called a stromboli, which was a pizza, but the crust was on the outside. I don't know if she kept it vegan or not. I'm guessing there was at least cheese, and once a month she had that. But she was able to go back to her healthy diet. The problem is, a lot of people are very vulnerable to the effects of food addiction, processed food addiction. And it's like they say in AA, one drink, one drunk, one cheat meal, they don't get back on plan. So I don't like the word. I don't even like that it's called a cheat meal, because who are you cheating with this cheat meal? Yourself. I find that if you can find a program that you like and can stick with you, you don't need a cheat meal. So what am I going to cheat on? Sweet potatoes, broccoli. I make these cinnamon buns out of Hannah yams for frosting. What am I going to cheat on? I love my food. So my hope for all of you is you would get to the place where you love your food so much that it's not even an option for a cheat meal, because you don't want that stuff anymore. So you're allowed to have it, and maybe take note of how you feel when you have it. I just know from doing this for 10 years that for a lot of people, there's a saying in food addiction, one bite is too many, 1,000 bites is never enough. And that complete abstinence is easier than perfect moderation. That for some people, when you ignite those pleasure trap, taste buds, it's very hard to get back on plan and then enjoy your whole natural food. So it's really going to be up to you. I don't recommend them, especially if you're vulnerable. I don't know if anyone takes K2 supplements. Yes, I do use pineapple balsamic in my coleslaw. It's a very good flavor. I also use it sometimes for the purple sweet potatoes. Okay. How much fermented food can I eat? Well, the problem is most fermented food has salt. And so you can make it without salt. I know that there's a recipe on my YouTube channel for a sauerkraut without salt and for a kimchi without it. So, salt can be a real problem for some people, causing them to retain water, having the scale go up with water weight, and also causing them to overeat. What does the study say? 11% more calories when people use salt. Good salad dressing without oil is my lemon poppy seed, my ranch, lots of good ones. I don't eat nuts because they're a trigger food for me because I can't eat them without overeating. So I can't even have them in the house. We have Kathy. Oh, hi, Kathy. Hi. I'm looking fabulous. Thank you. Beautiful skin. I will say, and I'm not, I did put some powder on because I'm under lights and I don't want to be shiny. This is my real skin. I haven't done anything to it. I still have lines and stuff, but partly it's staying out of the sun, but it's the food, guys. It's the high nutrient diet that I eat. I can't, because if you look at my YouTube from 10 years ago, you can see my skin looked a lot different. And I swear I've not had anything done to it. I promise. I pinky swear. How many pounds of non-starchy vegetable am I eating a day? So as I get older, my appetite isn't as much as it used to be. And as Bailey gets older, I'm not walking as much. I still spend an hour a day. So I would say that now I'm probably down to about 2 pounds of vegetables a day, which is still good. 1 pound raw, 1 pound cooked. But when I was losing weight, I was eating easily 4 to 6 pounds a day, but I was 50, 60 pounds heavier and I needed a lot more food. But I would say I'm probably eating about 2 pounds of non-starchy vegetables a day, a pound of fruit, and about 2 pounds of starch. And, it sounds funny because I'm only eating 5 pounds of food a day, but yeah, I was eating probably 8 to 10. If you look at one of my videos early on, and I think it's called What I Eat in a Day. All right. Joe has elevated lipoprotein, so emitting all oil and tons of greens. Very good. Okay. Taste buds changed, says Lynn, no longer likes what I did. That's my hope with you. And that's the problem with cheat days, is you reignite the taste for that. It's sort of like if you're a smoker, can you have a cheat day for a cigarette? I don't know. Or a cheat day when you're an alcoholic. Maybe some people can, but I think it would make it much harder to get on the program. And even if you can get back on, then you just don't enjoy the food. That's the problem. And if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be able to stay on it. All right. Are there desserts we can have besides fruits and still lose weight? So Karen, I can't answer that for everyone because everybody's going to be different in terms of, we have people that come to my program that want to lose 5 pounds and people that want to lose 100 pounds. And so the more weight you have to lose, the more discretion you have with these things. So I find that for losing weight, the best dessert is fruit. And if you don't like it in its whole natural form, making it into a fruit sorbet is also a wonderful option. But when we start getting into mixing with the dates and the oats, it's going to be more calorically dense. So it's going to depend how much of that you eat. So I can tell you that I didn't eat any of those when I was losing weight. Do I eat them now? Yeah, but I didn't eat the jam bars and the muffins. I make an exception. When I traveled, I would make the milk muffins because I needed the starch. But for the most part, I just ate fruit. And I ate it in my salad. You can put it in your greens too. By the way, pineapple or mango in your greens is fantastic. So I can't answer specific, like I can't say, yes, Karen, you can have this much dessert and lose weight. I don't know. It's going to depend on how much else you eat. But again, really, it's how many vegetables, how many greens you're going to eat that's really going to propel your weight loss, because that we want to fill up on the lowest calorie, highest nutrient foods first. So it can be hard for people because dessert can beget dessert, and then you want it and then you're looking for it at every meal. I interviewed, was it Dr. Michael Gorin, who wrote Sugar Proof, and back in the day, dessert was something we had on a birthday, I don't know, maybe once a week. Now it's every meal, every day. So if you can, eat the fruit, the whole fruit, nothing but the whole fruit. All right. Somebody's saying they're not sure if nutritional yeast is a trigger. The best way to know is to omit it for like a month and then eat it like kind of by itself. And then you'll know. It's kind of like an elimination diet. Can I eat grits? You can definitely eat grits on a plant-based diet, but I don't know what the caloric density of it is. And if it's a ground grain, I would have to look that up, but it's definitely plant-based. Okay, so Zara says, been on plant-based, not losing weight. Well, again, I don't know what you're eating and how much you're eating and when you're eating. So I don't know if you've tried my specific program, but I would encourage you to consider it. All right, I'm going to go back to the chat now where Toby's posting for me. Let's see, where was the last one? Is this program good for a breastfeeding mother? Well, I've never been a breastfeeding mother, but I can tell you that whatever you eat, your baby's going to eat. And if you're eating healthy, that can only be good for the baby. So I know that you want to make sure that you eat enough of the healthy fats. So I would definitely make sure you're including either that ounce of nuts and seeds or a tablespoon of flax or chia every day. I don't see why it would be bad for a breastfeeding mother, but the thing is you want to make sure you're getting enough calories. I can tell you that doing other programs are probably not ideal for breastfeeding mothers, like, weighing and measuring your food where you're really limiting your calories or eating the standard American diet or eating junk food. So I can't imagine why eating the healthiest diet on the planet would be bad for a breastfeeding mother. But again, I'm not a doctor, and you can ask Dr. Gold if you join the program, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow is his session. And we can ask him if there's any special considerations. Dr. McDougall has a wonderful woman's book, and I believe it's chapter 4, where he talks about breastfeeding. And he believes that you can be doing this program, which is basically his program for maximum weight loss. The only difference between what I do and Dr. McDougall does is in his starch solution program, which is, by the way, a great program. And if you can do it and get to your results, please do that. Always do the least restrictive program you can do that will give you the results you seek. But in his maximum weight loss program, he tightens the screws a little bit for people that are food addicts, where he's not allowing the salt, the sugar, and the flour. So anyway, is it okay to listen, you can go to nutritionfacts.org, and Dr. Greger says microwaving is absolutely safe. I microwave my food. Like, I don't cook my food. I'll cook like a baked potato in the microwave occasionally. I don't generally cook food in the microwave, but I'll definitely reheat it in there. And there's nothing wrong with it. And Dr. Greger actually, and I've heard Dr. Furman say too, there's absolutely nothing wrong. Wendy says, will I be able to submit questions to the doctors beforehand, as it will be midnight? Yes, absolutely. Yes. And it's the best way to do that, because I'm going to tell you, when we do these lives, just like now, I'm kind of looking all over the place for questions, and sometimes I miss them because there's comments in between and I'm not perfect. What's great about it is when you submit the questions through the Member Center, it comes to an email on my phone that the only person that knows is Charles and Toby. So I don't get emails, so that when I get it on this phone, it's like it stays there, and it's brilliant because then I can read it from the phone. I don't need my glasses. So yes, you absolutely can submit questions. And actually we prefer that because sometimes doctors like to know them in advance. And yes, we love that. We love it when you submit questions, because sometimes in the live, so many people are chatting with each other. I miss it. I work night shifts. How is it on the GI system? So one of the things I learned from the doctors on the GI Health Summit is that if you work night shifts, obviously you're going to have to be eating when other people are not eating, or you're sleeping when people are awake. Is just to whatever it is to be consistent. They said that people with night shift that are consistent can do well. It's the people that do, it's called split shifts. It's these people, they said, that work nights, sometimes days, sometimes. They say they see a lot of dysregulation with them, and it's very, very difficult. But if you can get into the routine where day is night and night is day. And they also recommended that the person on the night shift eat the food before their shift, rather than eating it at the end of their shift when they're going to be going to bed, ostensibly. But there are some workarounds. And I'm trying to remember what they did talk about that on the GI Health Summit. I can't stand soggy oats. I don't like them either. Is it well, so the problem we talked about that yesterday with Dr. Barbara Roll is granola, because I can really overeat granola, because remember, when food is dried, the water has been removed, which means it's higher in calorie density, and dry snacks, instead of having, see, here's the thing, oats cooked in water are about 365 calories a pound. Granola is about 1,800 calories a pound. So you can't eat as much of it, so that's the problem. I mean, I love granola too. I make the best granola in the world. The recipe's on my YouTube channel. It's called Carrot Cake Granola. But man, Charles has to hide it from me and put it in a locked food safe, because once I pop, I can't stop. So for weight loss, dried snacks, even light rice cakes, are not going to be beneficial, because there's no water, and the water in the food plus the fiber in the food bound together creates bulk, and that's what creates satiety. So popcorn, rice cakes, pretzels, crackers, granola, even though it's fat-free, very high in caloric density. And so you don't have to eat oats after your veggies. Why not just eat sweet potatoes or beans and rice? It doesn't have to be oats. How did you quit Diet Coke? So I quit Diet Coke by going to Maui. My friend, I'm serious, this was in, what year was it? My dog had just died. Was it 1980? It was around then. So my friend had her boss's condo for a week in Maui, and I just went there and I just cried on the beach every day. It's very hard to quit it. Yeah. And I think it was harder to quit the diet soda than it was the Coke Slurpees, because those diet things and the stevia, they really mess with you a lot more. I just went to Maui, if you can do that. And obviously I didn't drink it. So I don't even think they had 7-Elevens in Maui's back then. So yeah, I just went through the headaches and the withdrawal and the sadness. It's very, very, very toxic. Yeah. But yes, greens helped you with cravings, because greens, the darker the green, have these compounds called thylakoids that have shown to be effective in turning off your hunger switch and fighting cravings. They're like magical. If they were a pill, and maybe they will be one day, I'm sure they're going to do very well. So yeah, eating greens really helps fight cravings. And that's why we recommend vegetables for breakfast. What about hemp seeds? So again, all seeds have a caloric density of 2,600 calories per pound. Hemp, chia, and flax are the highest in omega-3 fatty acids, but you really don't need more than a tablespoon a day. And if you have fat on your body, you don't even need them during that time of weight loss, because you'll be cannibalizing your own fat. So you're not going to have to worry about omega-3 fatty acids. Tina says, finally hit menopause at 59, body changed overnight and having trouble keeping weight off, gluten intolerant, eat about 98% whole food plant-based. Well, again, this is when you're in the program, it's hard to speak to something when I don't know more about you and I can't unmute you and ask you to tell me what you've been eating or look at your food journal. But again, I recommend, the Reboot is only 30 days. And I really, there's a holiday called Lent that's, I believe, 40 days. So I think that most people can do something for a period of 30 days. And that's why I recommend what the previous question asker asked about, can I just do a little bit? Yeah, but why not go all in and get, really get the full experience and see if this works for you. So yeah, I don't know, Tina, what's in your diet, if there's any alcohol, if there's any oil, animal products. When you say you're 98% plant-based, what's the other 2%? Is it cheese, very high in saturated? I don't know. So I need more. And being plant-based is not enough to lose weight, because I was plant-based for, 35 years and still obese the whole time, because I was eating, healthy Ezekiel bread, but it's sprouted, and, almond butter and all that stuff. And plant-based is not a guarantee of successful weight loss. It's much better for the animals and the environment, but you can do a horribly designed plant-based diet, so that's the thing. I looked at a meal plan. What do you recommend for heat and eat? Well, if you really don't want to be complicated, you can get Mama Says. They created an SOS free bundle for me and Dr. Goldhammer, where you get all your food delivered, and it's delivered refrigerated or in a cold pack, and you can heat and eat it. But again, I recommend learning batch cooking techniques, so that anytime you want healthy foods ready. I mean, we always have rice in our freezer from Trader Joe's. It's organic rice. It comes in white and brown, and it takes 3 minutes to microwave. And we always have bags of vegetables that we can microwave in 3 or 4 minutes. And then we put on a California balsamic vinegar like curry, and we have curry in a hurry. So it can be very easy. You don't have to cook. That's why I do recommend an Instant Pot, because it's very easy to make a soup, a stew, or a chili. But I try to make my recipes as easy as possible because I'm not somebody that likes to spend a lot of time cooking. Should I limit fruit while trying to lose weight? Well, I recommend fruit as the sweet treat after the meal. So if you have 2 meals a day, that's 2 pieces. If you have 3 meals a day, maybe that's 3. Dr. McDougall recommends the same thing. He says 2 pieces, 1 to 2 pieces a day if you're trying to lose weight, especially if you have high triglycerides. And veggies for breakfast, I think maybe you might want to spend some time, if you have my book, reading that chapter or looking on my YouTube channel for recipes. But my favorite would be balsamic Dijon glazed Brussels sprouts. That's my favorite. And that recipe, of course, will be on my YouTube channel. I like the baby Brussels sprouts from Trader Joe's. You can just microwave them or pop them in your air fryer and make a glaze out of balsamic vinegar and mustard. That's one of my favorites. Oven roasted ratatouille. Those would be probably my favorite. When I was really, sugar snap peas were my favorite back in the day because they were just easy. So whatever vegetable you like, and if you don't like any vegetables, whatever vegetable you hate the least. Parsnips and carrots. Okay, so parsnips are starchy. Carrots are non-starchy. Do you ever use oat milk from the Nutri-Milk and the cauliflower bisque? Yeah, a lot of times I'll just use, believe it or not, oats in the cauliflower bisque. And then, okay, see, because I'm pureeing it anyway, I just put oats in while it's cooking and then get it. Like I add the extra water and then I'm doing it that way because it's I don't eat any chocolate because I think chocolate is a huge, huge trigger food, and it's very high in fat and usually high in sugar and often dairy. No, you don't weigh anything you eat at all. Nope, not at all. There's no weighing and measuring. What proportion did you say you eat? For now, I would, if I had to guess, I probably eat 2 pounds of non-starchy vegetables, 1 pound of fruit, and 2 pounds of starch a day. And that's just an estimate because I don't believe in having to weigh or measure anything. Yeah, you can choose any recipes you want, Ron, on the meal plan. You don't have to follow it exactly. There's it's just a guideline. If you want to eat sweet potatoes and broccoli every meal, do it. It'd be delicious. I think I could do that if I had to. It's just that Charles likes a little more variety. Kim can't find Hannah yams. Yes, I don't remember what the recipes are, Kim, to be honest, but if the cauliflower bisque recipe isn't there, I promise I will give it to you, even if I have to just cut and paste it in the chat in tomorrow's live session. But so the best substitute for Hannah yams would be either the murasaki, the batata, or the Japanese sweet potatoes, because we're looking for a white creamy one. But the truth is you could use any sweet potato. It just, if you use the orange ones, it's just going to tinge it a little bit orange. It's not going to be white. Yeah, I don't recommend monk fruit. I don't recommend any sugar substitutes. I recommend just learning to satisfy your sweet tooth with fruit instead of always activating it with things like monk fruit and Lohan. If you really, really want to know about this, Paul, next week, this is what you ask Goldhammer, and he'll explain it to you. He'll explain it to you why it's not a good substitute. So fruit is the best thing. Do you have any recipes for spaghetti? How much are you supposed to eat if you're over 200 pounds? Well, so I don't know about a specific recipe for reflux, but I do have a very good spaghetti sauce recipe that's coming out a week from Wednesday on YouTube that I just shot that I love. It's so easy. You make it in the Instant Pot, and it's made out of tomato paste. So one of the things is, let's work on getting rid of your acid reflux, and irrespective of your weight, you can improve acid reflux on an oil-free, whole food, plant-based diet. Because Charles, who was not overweight, had very bad acid reflux. He was on those H2 blockers for a really long time. Excuse me. And he had to put the bed up on bricks, and we would slide out of bed. And when he went from a regular vegan diet to an unprocessed one without oil and processed food, he was able to get rid of the reflux and stop the medicine. He was having endoscopies and so much pain. I can't guarantee that my recipe is going to be any different than another recipe in terms of your reflux. So I don't have a specific spaghetti sauce for reflux recipe, but figure, if you have to lose 200 pounds, you lose it a pound at a time, or really less than that, ounce at a time. Really, Dr. Lau says most people don't lose more than about 2 ounces of fat a day, but the more weight you have to lose, the quicker you'll lose it. There's a concept known as the BMR, or the RMR, basal metabolic rate, or resting metabolic rate. And most people need about 10 calories per pound of body fat. So let's just say, I'm just saying this because I'm bad at math. Let's say you weigh 400 pounds, so 400 times 10 is 4,000 calories to maintain your weight. So any deficit, you're going to lose weight. If you could create a deficit of 500 calories per week, you'll lose about a pound a week. And so it's hard to know exactly how much a person has to eat. It's really what you eat. And that's when you understand calorie density, you don't have to worry about when you eat, why you eat, or how much you eat. You just have to worry about what you eat. And when you eat foods of a low caloric density, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes, you're keeping your average calorie density to 600 calories per pound or less. And unless you have the rarest genetic makeup that Dr. Goldhammer says in tens of thousands of patients he's never seen, you will lose weight. And the person that says, I won't lose weight, I can't, he says, come to the center. It's never not worked. So not everybody loses the same amount of weight, the same speed. But the other thing you want to realize is when you eat the way that we recommend, you're also going to get healthy. And so let's not forget about that. That's really the name of the game here. Okay. Biggest problem is fat in the diet. That's my problem too. And that's why this is a low fat program. And so, as I mentioned, it's been over 10 years. I just started adding a little bit of tahini to one recipe, but I haven't eaten any overt fat for 10 years. I do believe, Dr. McDougall, that the fat you eat is the fat you wear. So we keep by the way, there's fat in everything. Oats have 20% of their calories from fat. Unless you're just having fruit juice, you can't be on a fat deficient diet, just like you can't be on a protein deficient diet. Okay. Charles, there's a question from Roxanne. Will we be getting the meal plan soon? Charles?
Yes, actually, when you register, you get a confirmation email, and that has the meal plan in it.
Thank you.
So, well, actually, you get week 1 right away, and then by Monday you'll have all 4 weeks.
Cool. All right. I saw a question here. There's a question on LDL and HDL. Not a doctor. That's why we have Dr. Goldhammer coming next week to answer all the medical questions. All right. What are your thoughts on? I don't know what Amen RA intermittent fasting, but Dr. Goldhammer knows a lot about intermittent fasting and water fasting, and these would be great questions for him. My new book is coming out, I think, March 22nd. I only get to the store every other week and have very little freezer space. Well, then maybe get freeze-dried or dehydrated vegetables. That's what Mary McDougall was talking about when the pandemic started, that she started doing. Every fruit and vegetable can be sold on Amazon and other websites. I can't remember the company she uses, dried and dehydrated. So that's what I would use if you have trouble having freezer space. I don't know if there's any connection between eating tofu and hypothyroidism, and we can ask Dr. Goldhammer that next week if you are here, but I do know that he talks about gluten and hypothyroidism, that there is a connection. Okay. What do you think about organic foods, though they're not organic? Well, I do try to buy organic whenever possible, but if it means not eating something, I'll eat it inorganic or conventional. So I would look on a website called ewg.org, which is the environmental working group.org. And there's something called the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So I would go by that list as far as that is concerned. Soy, corn, and wheat, the 3 most heavily genetically modified crops, definitely want to get organic. I'd also refer you to the work of Dr. Ron Weiss. I'm sure you can find him on my channel or just Google him. He's a regenerative gardener who's also a medical doctor in New Jersey. And one of the things I learned from him is that, yeah, organic's better, but it's still not perfect. They're still using chemicals. Best thing next to growing it yourself is to probably buy it at a farmer's market and get to know the farmer. It's tough out there. But if you look at nutritionfacts.org, Dr. Greger's website, he'll say it's much better to eat a conventional produce than organic animal products and processed food any day of the week. Trying to be hopeful and excited, says Kimberly. Why wouldn't you be? Why is no salt important? Can you have 1 teaspoon in a whole day? Well, if you come back on next Sunday, week from tomorrow, Dr. Goldhammer will explain it to you better than anybody can. 1 teaspoon is 2,300 milligrams. And it just depends. If you're not overweight and don't have high blood pressure, maybe it is okay. And assuming you're not eating any of the processed foods, but salt causes you to overeat. It stimulates the appetite and it causes you to eat more food than you would if you didn't eat it. It's linked to I forget which kind of cancer does Dr. Furman say it's linked to? Definitely stroke and high blood pressure. And it stimulates what's called passive overeating, and people that eat salt eat 11% more calories. So, if you're not struggling with your weight or food addiction, maybe it's okay. But for people that are, I would recommend trying to go without it for 30 days. And food actually, when you get off of it, you'll see food tastes better without it. But it's, again, one of those addictions. Okay. What kind of fat this is a question for somebody else. Yeah. Can we have frozen organic? Yeah, of course. A frozen vegetable, Barbie, frozen fruits and vegetables have been shown in studies to be often more nutritious than fresh because they're picked at their peak, flash frozen, whereas organic produce can sit on a truck for a week. So it's fantastic. And if you're a Costco member, you know that the prices are great. Avocados are lower in caloric density than nuts and seeds. They're 750 calories a pound, but they are still high in fat. And a serving of avocado, according to the California Avocado Commission, is 1/5 of an avocado. Most people don't eat that. We're recommending the 30-day Reboot program, which I will put in the chat right now because registration will end tomorrow, or if it gets full, it will end today. So we're going to put that information right here if you'd like to check it out. It's a program that I do with 3 other of my esteemed colleagues, Dr. Lyle, Dr. Goldhammer, and John Pierre. Okay. And then, now that I put something in the chat, it skipped a lot. Okay, getting back to where I was. We did mention hemp seeds were fine. Now, how do I enroll? Barbie says. Barbie, there's a link now in the chat. So if you click that, you can do that. If you need the website, it's ultimatereboot.org. No, spinach, there's nothing wrong with spinach, Marta, but you want to eat a variety of greens and not just have it every day. And if you're trying to lose weight, maybe not do the smoothies, but actually eat the vegetable. Yeah. Lady says, I've been underweight, but have fatty liver from eating too much fat and oil. Should I keep eating plant fats? I would not eat oil for sure if you have fatty liver, and even if you're underweight. I don't know much about if the whole food fat would do the same thing, but if you're in the program, please ask Dr. Goldhammer that question next week. Okay. Yeah, you're getting a meal plan, Roxanne, excuse me, but you don't have to follow it if you don't want, or at least you don't have to follow it in order. But as soon as you sign up, you'll get the meal plan. Okay, if you're 67 minutes late, you can always rewatch it right after it ends. All right. I hate cooked veggies, says Leslie, but I love potato and salads and fruit. Help. Can I live like this? Smoothies, if your weight's not a problem, smoothies aren't a problem, but they become 12.5% more calorically dense when you blend them and reduce the volume, because you burn more calories when you chew the food and digest it that way rather than blending it. I mean, there's times where people have to blend their food. They have dental work or things like that. But if you hate cooked veggies, then maybe eat raw veggies. Or have you found different ways to cook the veggies? Have you tried roasting them? Have you tried air frying them? I don't know. Have you ever had air fried vegetables? Like, they taste amazing. if you ever put California balsamic vinegar on it. So I think there's a way to learn to like vegetables. There are people that have a real deep aversion, and hypnosis has worked for them. We're actually having a hypnotherapist on my show in the near future that is going to talk about that. But yeah, and I don't know how much flax you're putting in your smoothies, but that's very high in fat. I know that that's a protocol that people use for with certain doctors, but it's I recommend you just try the program as designed for 30 days and see how that works for you. I don't know much about an online planner app for meals. So, you know, but if it helps you, you can do that. And hopefully, Barbie, you've seen the link now to enroll. It's just scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. How does one look at your archive videos? You just go to YouTube. They're all there. They're all right there. You can put in the little magnifying glass search if you're looking for like a particular topic or doctor. Sherry says her favorite dessert is a frozen banana. Frozen cherries are really good too. Yep. Which balsamic flavors can I not live without? Great question, Justine. Different ones for different reasons, but which one couldn't I live without? What do I really use the most? That is a very good question. So it's kind of, well, I really, different ones for different reasons. For straight up salad dressing, it's the 7-herb Italian. To put on vegetables, it's the curry, followed closely by the teriyaki, but I really like the smoked hickory. It's probably those. That's why he sells a Chef AJ sampler pack with all my favorite flavors. And then, of course, the new huckleberry is very good. I would hate the thought of having to live without California balsamic vinegar. Right? You mentioned Elaine Lelaine, Georgia. She was actually on my show, and she was probably one of the favorite people I've ever interviewed. She's just delightful. If Nancy, if we offer it in the future, it won't be for at least 6 months. All right, because we need a break and we've got to do the summit. Right. Diana says she works night and lost 40 pounds. Wonderful. It's the food. Yeah, I don't recommend erythritol. I don't recommend any sweeteners, guys. Learn to get your sweetness from life and from the actual food. So I don't erythritol, xylitol, mannitol, sorbitol, whatever, anything that ends in oil is a sugar alcohol. Not good for weight loss, not good for your gut. Don't let anybody fool you. Ask the medical doctors. They don't recommend it. No salt, no sugar, no flour. What can you eat? Beans, rice, corn, potatoes, oatmeal, every fruit, every vegetable, tons of food. I mean, what if you eat sugar, flour, and salt? What do you eat? Donuts? I mean, like, that's not food. All right. I get overwhelmed with all the recipes. I need to keep whole food plant-based meals simple. Is there a cookbook with very simple recipes and trick you recommend? Yeah, I recommend my book, actually. Both of my books are very simple. I recommend Straight Up Food by Kathy Fisher. Any of the recipes on my YouTube channel. I try to keep it simple. I'm loving this program. Thank you, Chef AJ. You're welcome. Trying not to miss anything. It does help though when it's a question, if you put question marks before it, because then I can differentiate it from a comment and I can probably go a little bit faster. What do you do for the gassy feeling? So there's a couple things, Joanne. Is one, you either don't eat those foods. Two, you eat them in smaller portions and work your way up to it. Like Dr. Furman talks about, even literally eating 1 bean a day and then 2 beans, or you work with one of the plant-based doctors that's a gastroenterologist to work on your microbiome to fix whatever's wrong with the dysbiosis so that you can eat these things. But it is normal to get gas from eating cruciferous vegetables and beans to some degree. But if it's terrible, then, you know, work on fixing your gut, eating smaller portions, or eating vegetables that are less gas producing. Cooked carrots are on, carrots are a non-starchy vegetable. They're to the left of the red line, whether they're raw or cooked. When you cook them, they do increase a little bit in caloric density, but they're still fine. Do bananas cause weight gain? Not to my knowledge, unless it's what else you're eating with them. You ever see an overweight chimpanzee? I don't think you've ever seen an overweight animal in nature. It's only when they're not eating the diet consistent with their species' natural history. All right, I finished. yeah, it's okay if you don't have a gallbladder, Deborah, because this is a low-fat program. So people often without a gallbladder have to eat a low-fat diet anyway. So if you don't recommend monk fruit sweeteners, how should you sweeten your tea? Well, find a tea you don't need to sweeten. Number one, if you have to sweeten your food, you don't like it, you're having it for another reason. There are teas that are naturally sweet, like Good Earth, sweet and spicy. You could soak a date in water and do that. But, you know, sweeteners are very caloric, and the more you keep sweetening your food, the more you're going to be stuck in that pleasure trap, and the more you're going to need to sweeten your food. Find foods that don't need sweetener. There's plenty of delicious teas out there. Sugar Cookie Sleigh Ride by Celestial Seasonings. If you have to add sweetener, then you don't like the tea you're drinking. That's what I got to say about that. And the same thing for coffee. Okay. Lots of comments. Lots of questions. Oh my God, I haven't even, you know what? I've been so busy that I haven't even shared this on Facebook. That's how busy I've been answering that stuff. Shoot. Well, oh well, it is what it is. I can always add it afterwards. What is the name of the site that has recipes? My site is my name, Chef AJ. So if you go to YouTube, which you are on right now, I can see Sherry right there. What would I eat with sauerkraut? Anything. You could stuff it in a potato. Probably would be good. You know. All right. Yeah, Frontier Co-op is a great place for dehydrated vegetables. After the program finishes, do you have access to materials? Yes, you have them for life. What you don't have access to are the live interactions that come with the program when we rerun it. But yes, the program you have for sure. You can do it yourself. Again, I don't know what causes calcium deposits, but again, any medical question, if you join the program, we have Dr. Goldhammer next week doing a minimum of 2.5 hours. So he should be able to get to all the questions. The program is 147. The program is 2 p.m. Pacific time on, well, the modules are delivered every day, but the actual live interactions like we're doing now are 2 p.m. Pacific time starting tomorrow, and they'll go for a minimum of 2 hours. It could be more. My exercise routine is I spin standing an hour a day. I also walk Bailey, but I don't really count that as exercise because she's 10 now and it's more of a stroll. When we lived in Sherman Oaks and she was younger, we were walking like 2 hours a day, but with the heat here and with her advanced age, we stroll, but I spin 1 hour a day. And I do yoga. I mean, I don't have a class, but I do the stretches, you know, intermittently throughout the day. It looks like I lost the whole person. I'm so thin. Yeah, I went from, when I started, I was 165 and I'm about like 120 now. My weight, you know, sometimes it's like 117, 18, 19, but it doesn't ever go higher than 120. And I lost an inch, not because I'm osteoporosis. I had an accident in 1982 where I crushed 2 vertebrae. And I had lost a 1/2 inch right after the accident from 5'6" to 5'5.5". And as the years went on, you could just know that one bone, because I would never, it's not that I would never have surgery, but I prefer, you know, it was very unstable. So I'm 5'5" now, meant to be 5'6" though. So I'm in a good range. My BMI is 20 or 20.5, and I don't worry about it. How can I make beans taste good? Well, maybe what you put on afterwards, onion, garlic, cook them with. I mean, if you don't like beans, you don't have to eat beans, but most people think they taste pretty good. What do you use for salad dressing if not using oil? Oh, we answered that, but California balsamic, 7-herb Italian, ranch dressing, lemon poppy seed. Those are 2 of my best homemade dressings. Karen says, oh, no, somebody said to Karen, I notice how my taste buds have adjusted to real food. So exciting to eat real food. Exactly. Because do you think people like Dr. Furman and Dr. Goldhammer, Dr. Sabatino and Esther could have eaten this weight? They've never been overweight or food addicts if the food didn't taste good. Yes, you get lifetime access to the program. Derek and Karen says, I credit AJ for the knowledge I have. Thank you. Did answer about my exercise. Is it a self-paced program? Well, yeah, pretty much, because you'll have it forever. What's not self-paced is the live interactions. It's that they are when they are, which is 5 consecutive Sundays starting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So that's not going to change. But as far as you can do them at your own pace. You're welcome. I'm up for introducing you to the world of oil-free cooking. To have Instant Pot recipes in the course, yes, but anything cooked in the Instant Pot can also be cooked in a slow cooker or on the stove. Yes, the hypnosis person, Lynn, lives in Oregon and she does Zoom sessions. Her name is Lisa Hubler and her company is A Mind Matters. And I worked with her when I was in LA on Fear of Flying. She's wonderful. Do dates hinder weight loss? Depends how many you eat. They're 1,300 calories a pound. Okay. If the balsamic vinegar triggers your rheumatoid arthritis, I recommend you try the other recipes I have, like lemon poppy seed or ranch. The raw food bundle is not available, but we have 24 hours left for the plant-based bundle. I don't know if is Beano safe, Denise. And again, if you're in the program, please ask a question like that to Dr. Goldhammer. My guess is it's probably not ideal. If you're having gas from beans, you can cook them in something called kombu, an inch of kombu, which is a sea vegetable, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. And I'm not sure that Beano is even vegan if that's an issue for you. Is 400 pounds overweight for a 5.5 inch person? Yeah, according to even the Metropolitan Life Insurance Scale, a 100-pound man is supposed to weigh, a 5-foot man should weigh 100 pounds and 6 pounds per inch. So according to them, yes. Oh, Lisa loves the Saigon. Yeah, that's another thing. See, that's a great point, Lisa. All these people that are wanting to sweeten things with all these low calorie and dangerous sweeteners, the Saigon cinnamon by Local Spicery, the cassia, it tastes like sugar. So that might be a great idea to use for that. Oh, hi, Lori. All right. You add spinach to your smoothies every day. Is that okay? Okay for what? I don't recommend smoothies if you're trying to lose weight, especially. And I certainly wouldn't recommend having the same green every day. You have to diversify. Is there a legume that is under 567 calories per pound? I think that the average caloric density of pretty much all beans is 550. Some are as high as 600, but I wouldn't worry about that. Okay. All right, I'm going to switch from here. These lights are killing me. Okay, so we addressed monk fruit, not good. Stevia, not good. Erythritol, not good. All right, let's see. How many meals should we have? Should we have beans for protein? Well, I don't think you have to worry about beans for protein. I don't eat beans at all, and I get plenty of protein. And I know that because once you get my physical, they do a blood test and says how much protein I have. There's protein in everything. The only way to be protein deficient is calorie deficient. If you can eat beans, a half a cup a day would be great on your salad, or more than that, I guess, if you're eating a meal. Jen Pierre can talk about that tomorrow a little bit about this protein idea, and especially people that are athletes and things like that. I know that Dr. McDougall says to limit legumes, not because of weight loss, just because trying to remember his reason. He'll be on the show on the 17th and I can ask him that. But you don't have to have beans at every meal, and you don't even have to have beans every day. So I know that people will tell you that's the truth, but you'll hear from Dr. Goldhammer next week that the truth is there is no food you have to eat to be healthy. The calories in beans are, yes, beans do have, and beans are great, by the way, and they have resistant starch, and they're especially good for people that are diabetics. But if for some reason they're not working for you, don't feel like you have to have them. What inspired you to change your eating lifestyle of weight loss? I don't know if you saw the series that led up to this, Anna Maria, but I had broken my knee and I couldn't even use the restroom myself. And I was just humiliated, and I was sick and tired of being fat, sick and tired. And that was over 10 years ago. In what order would you recommend your books being read? It depends. If somebody's goal is weight loss, then I would definitely say The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss first. If they're not really overweight and just trying to transition the family, then Unprocessed. And if really they want to know more about the environment, then Own Your Health. Okay. Yeah, Sherry says using a 1-inch square piece of combo and pre-soaking her beans, she doesn't have a gas issue. Feelings on calcium supplements. Yeah, not a fan of any supplements with the exception of B12 and other ones that may be recommended by your doctor, like vitamin D or other things. So the only supplement I take is B12. And I don't take any other supplements. All right. Okay, so I'm at the end of the questions on the Restream chat. I'm not seeing any more here. Did you want me to share my screen, Toby, with this thing here? Maybe I should do that now.
No, all good. Unless you wanted it for reference for people who are watching it on YouTube or Facebook.
I can just share for a second just to see if I know how to do stuff. Whoop. Where is it? Let's see if this works. I just love practicing. Did that work? Probably not, huh? Are you seeing my screen share now? Charles, can you tell me?
Yes, we do see your screen.
So you no, but do you see the ultimate reboot thing?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'll just leave that up for a second because I will show the people my before and after. So you can see I wasn't just telling tall tales out of school. That was a fairly recent picture of me. Well, not recent, like in the last 10 years, but it was about 10 years ago before I started. I was more than 50 pounds heavier than I am in the picture on the right. So we are going to start the class tomorrow. So if you're at all interested, I would encourage you to sign up and to remember that I lost all my weight in my 50s while being hypothyroid and in a wheelchair, not being able to exercise. So I believe that there's always hope. And as I mentioned, there have been women in my class that have been in their 90s. So yeah. Well, this has been a fun session. You know, I used to do this every week. It was called Weight Loss Wednesday, but then it was, you know, I felt like answering the same question over and over. There's 260 episodes on YouTube, by the way. My opinion on peanut butter powder is it's definitely lower in fat, but some of the brands have sugar and salt, which I don't recommend. And, you know, I just, if it's just to me, you know, like it's just too much of a trigger. It's just too realistic. So what I do when I want that flavor is I make my Thai peanut free sauce out of roasted chestnuts. And I get that same flavor at a much lower caloric density with a whole natural food rather than a processed food. So I'm generally not a fan of processed foods. So yeah, I mean, it might be okay. I know that some of the beautiful YouTubers that have lost weight use it, but I just think it would be a pleasure trap problem food for me. So who will be presenting on the 30th? So tomorrow is the 9th. It's me and John Pierre. The 16th is Dr. Alan Goldhammer. The 23rd is me and John Pierre. The 30th would be Dr. Doug Lyle. And then we're going to end on February 6th. So yes, you can submit questions through the Member Center. So yeah, tomorrow is the start date. So, you know, what have you got to lose? You know, it's a money back guarantee. You really got nothing to lose. So I hope you'll join because the more the merrier, especially when we get into breakout rooms. Yeah, we answered about air pop popcorn, Lissa. That came up already in the session today, but it's not a weight loss food. It's 1,800 calories a pound, and it's not good for food addicts because it's a hand to mouth food. Where is the plant-based bundle? Well, boy, where is that link? Are you going to be here at 11 and I'll find it for you? Let me get it for you. Where is that link, Charles? It's so hard when you got so many different screens. So, hey, you know, I just found the link though to Dr. Carney about coffee. If you like, I can post that in the chat right now because people kept asking about coffee and why some of the doctors don't think it's good. Hold on one second and I'll get you that. I hate to make people wait while I look for a link because I wasn't here to promote the bundle, but if you want that, let me try to get that for you because that's only for another, I don't know where to find it now. I'm really sorry. I'll have to get it for you at 11 o'clock. You can find it on my Facebook page for sure. Oh, maybe I can find it on my Facebook page. Duh. I can get here we go. I got it. No problem. Cut and paste. There we go. What he's referring to is a bundle of over 100 ebooks and courses that sells for $50. So it's like 50 cents a book. There we go. Now I got that. I got it for you right there. How long do you have access to the program after the purchase? Forever or as long as you live? So there we go. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, let me check the other chat. Here's one from Marie. Is the food easy to make and easy to buy? Yes. like I said to the person that lived in Europe, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes. Can I promise that where you live is going to have Hannah yams? No, I can't. Even people, my friend lives in Denver and can't find Hannah yams, and that's a big city. So yes, you can keep it very simple with as long as you have access. I mean, honestly, and I've been meaning to do this, but I haven't had time with the pandemic. But I have never really been a Walmart shopper, not because I have anything against Walmart, but in LA, we just didn't have them. I mean, the nearest Walmart was like 30 minutes away. It just wasn't, somewhere to go. The other stores were closer, but here we're in the desert. There's one on literally every corner. And I have been really impressed with their produce section, with their whole shopping section, because not only is it beautiful, but it's largely organic and it's very affordable. And the same with the 99-cent store. So I really believe if you have access to a Walmart and the Scott family, who's going to be on the Truth About Weight Loss Summit is a success story. They live in some small town in Kentucky. There's no Whole Foods, there's no Trader Joe's, there's no Sprouts, and they're still able to do it. So I think if you have access to something, I don't know how small your small town is, but if there's a Walmart or a 99-cent store, you should be able to do it. And also realize that you can buy almost everything online now, believe it or not, even fresh produce, but certainly the bulk stuff. No, I don't eat flax. I just don't like it at all. Okay. And yes, I do believe the recipes are easy to make. Because most of my recipes, almost all of them, by the way, you may not know this, is I used to teach at the Braille Institute as a culinary instructor. So all my recipes were tested on people that had no sight. And I figured if a non-sighted person can do it, a sighted person can do it. Avid exerciser. I do sometimes struggle with overeating. Yeah, I think it would be a great program with you. I mean, that's what the program is for, is people that struggle with weight issues and food addiction issues and overeating issues. But the thing is healthy treats. See, that's the problem. Don't make them, don't buy them. If you struggle with something, then get it out of your environment, because it's very hard to moderate foods of a high caloric density, especially if you're combining fat and sugar. So if your healthy treat is a date with peanut butter. Yeah, that's healthy, but you're combining fat and sugar, which never existed throughout human history in any food. I mean, the exception would be breast milk, but I'm assuming most of you aren't using breast milk anymore. So, even oats, which are fairly high in fat, you combine them with dates. I mean, yeah, it's healthy, or nuts with dates, it's healthy, but you're not meant to have sugar and fat in the same bite of food. So if you're struggling with healthy treats, then don't make them, don't buy them, and don't eat them. Or if you eat them, eat them out of the house where you're eating one serving and you're not going to have access to them. I feel that nice cream with frozen bananas is great. I can't eat chocolate, Martha, because it gives me migraines, and Charles can't have it either for heart reasons, because it has caffeine. But if you're going to use chocolate, cocoa powder, which is unsweetened, is probably the best way, or a balsamic vinegar like California balsamic. So tempeh, soy products are to the left of the red line in terms of caloric density, but they're also very high in fat. So I recommend maybe for the 30 days, just either minimizing them or not using them. But if you're going to have, soy, the best way is the whole food, having the edamame, and then the tofu or the tempeh would be the second. I can't stop snacking at night. Well, get into the group, get an accountability buddy, learn the reasons why it's maybe not such a great thing, or maybe ask Dr. Lyle for some help. A lot of times it has to do with you not eating enough starch in the daytime, or there could be emotional things going on, but it's called the cram circuit. And there are some lectures on my YouTube channel where he explains why it's so difficult. And that would be something that Dr. Lyle could help you with on week 4. Yeah, we talked about not being able to remove temptations in the house a little earlier. Maybe you're joining late, Daniela, but one of the things that we can work on with is on week 4 with Dr. Lyle about that, because you have to negotiate that, It's fine if the family doesn't want to do the plan, but that doesn't mean you have to be their executioner and buying them the unhealthy foods and making them for them. But we can talk a lot about that with Dr. Lyle, because he wrote a whole book about that. I buy California balsamic vinegar. Yes, durian is a combination of sugar and fat. That's true. But how many people really eat it in general, and how many people eat it on a daily basis? There's always going to be exceptions, but it's pretty rare for people in the United States to have even tasted it, honestly. and it smells really bad. I didn't like it, you know. Do you have a dish that you eat all the time? Well, yeah, sweet potatoes and broccoli is a dish I eat all the time. What else? Chopped salad all the time. I mean, because I love them. Those are probably the two I eat all the time. Oh, the rice dish I eat all the time. I make tostadas every third night. We have tostadas. That recipe is on my YouTube page. I think it's called. I don't know what it's called. It's in the last couple months. It's a tostada. It's a rice dish, and I eat it on a tostada with lots of lettuce and scallions and faux parmesan. That's my favorite. So we eat that. We're actually having that tonight. And then I make a big batch, and then I freeze it, and it's wonderful. So, but yeah, Daniela, we'll talk a lot about that, about the family dynamics with the other doctors. And there's usually a solution, unless the family is just so unsupportive and disagreeable, then there's not. But most families are willing to support loved ones in recovery. How can I keep up with everything once I leave this page? Well, we're here every day at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I do a live show, and if you join the program, you'll be keeping up with the people there. I don't recommend or use Bragg's aminos. It's just too high in sodium. If somebody absolutely had to use a salt substitute like that, I'd probably say coconut aminos, because it's the lowest in sodium. But again, anytime you salt your food, if your goal is weight loss, you might want to consider trying SOS free, because you're just going to stimulate your appetite and also make you're going to desire sweet for. Lori says, I love that advice. My family doesn't have to be on board, but I don't have to be their executioner. Exactly. You don't have to be their drug dealer. Believe me, they're going to get it on their own. Okay. Anyway, guys, my voice is getting a little, you know how it is after 2 hours. And I do have a live show to do at 11. And out of respect for my guest, Dr. Balcom, I'd like to have a little break on my throat. But you know that I'm always willing to stay over. If anybody that's done the program, I'm telling you, I think the longest, I think once we went 4 hours and 20 minutes. I don't eat polenta. It's just too finely ground of a grain. So that's that. How much is the program? It's $147, and it has a money back guarantee. So anyway, thank you for being here. I'm very honored that so many people showed up so early. I meant to book it for 9, and then there was a miscommunication. Then I found out it was that's why I'm wearing a hat, because I went right from the spin bike to here. So thank you guys so much. And I hope that you'll consider, just eating healthfully, whether or not you join the program. I think that when you eat in a manner that supports your health, eventually you'll get the weight loss you desire. And I always tell people, I do believe you can have both the health and the body that you so richly deserve. And you have access to me every day. I do a free live show every day, Weight Loss Wednesday, every Wednesday. You can try Feel Fabulous for $1. We have the upcoming, make sure you get on the mailing list of myself and or Toby at Better Life Summits, because whether you do this program or not, you're going to want to be watching the Truth About Weight Loss Summit. We have some unbelievable speakers, 45 of them this year, great doctors, great information. And we timed the reboot. So because when the reboot's over, we know what happens. And when we have one of these programs that ends, a lot of people have a lot of success and they want the next step. And so we've timed it so that as soon as reboot's over, you jump right into the summit, where you'll get lots of support for 9 days. It's a free online event, by the way. The summit's completely free. And that's it. Just, eat your greens. What can I tell you? And I hope to see as many of you as possible at 2 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow for the kickoff. Thanks, Toby and Charles, for the tech support, and take care.